In recent videos, I've been talking about color grading, the difference between tone curve and color match. And in this video specifically, I want to talk about grading the skin, because to be honest, I think you could be as creative and as weird and as flexible as you want with color grading. I think it's back when I didn't know nothing about color grading, I was making a contrast of orange and purple, and I was just doing mad grades. But I feel like my understanding got to the next level once I understood that you need to get the skin tone right. It doesn't matter. You could go mad with your color grading, but if the skin tone isn't looking real, authentic, isn't looking how it should, if it looks a bit too pale or a bit too green, I don't know. If it's not right, we all know when you see a color grade, if the skin ain't popping, if the skin ain't right, then it's not right. So I feel like I leveled up once I understood this. So the way I do it is I put a custom HSL secondary on skin alone. Now we'll get into this. So essentially, let me just take you through this grade, which is for a music video called All I Need. Let me just record the time so I can get back to this part.
Listen, how do we change the narrative? Go where the passion is. Serve the inner child for what she didn't get as a kid. Flip the script for the future whiz kids. Show them the sounds from the other side so they can really live. Proud of their heritage, beauty in the melanin.
So the way I do my color grade, because I shot this myself, put it on the tripod, different angles and whatnot, I knew the white balance was always the same. I didn't have it on auto white balance. I had it on a consistent temperature. So I know that I can put the same grade across all footage, because all we did was change the background from white to black. And then even when I put some B-roll on top, it worked. It made it synchronized everything to feel like it's coming from the same mood. So as you can see, my grade, or all my adjustments, are on an adjustment layer. Every now and again, sometimes in videos I might put a custom exposure just in case I think something's too bright or too dark. But in this case, yeah, it's all shot in a studio, so the exposure didn't change because there was no sun or anything that I couldn't control for the light. So yeah, all my color grading is on an adjustment layer. Now the first layer is just color correction. So I'm not going mad with all of these settings. I'm literally just in basic correction. So you can see here, I've called it CC. I renamed my lumetri colors effect stacks, just so I know what I'm doing per stack. So in color correction, all you see that I do here is, actually that's not even the place that I want to be. That's the place. I think you can see the sharpness now. So as you can see, if I take it off, that was how it was shot. So the color looks quite good, skin doesn't look too bad, and all I did is just make it pop just a little bit. So I've just boosted up the highlights, darken the shadows just a little, so just a bit more contrasty. And then if we go to what I want to talk about specifically in this video, skin tone, as you can see, it goes from looking quite healthy, looking good, but I just like it when there's a bit more red, a bit more warmth in the skin. So as you can see, it's just a little bit warmer, which I prefer straight away. We'll go from that, where everything's got, I guess, kind of like a green tinge, maybe. I just think the skin's not popping, but the skin looks healthy, like look how my sister's glowing in the background, you know what I mean? It goes from, like, as I said, you can see green in the shadows, everything's just a bit too green, whereas now the skin is actually popping from the scene. So yeah, anyway, to show you what's actually going on here, if we go on to skin RP. So skin grade RP, by the way, the adjustment is just, I've adjusted it to how my camera looks at skin. So that's why I've called it RP. I haven't got a Sony or anything, so it's not adjusted to that. So what's going on here is the HSL secondary is essentially you can be selective on one color alone. So as you can see, within HSL, so hue, saturation, luminance. I dialed in on basically red, orange, this area. In the saturation, yeah, you know, it's still the same in the red, orange area. So essentially, I color picked the skin, and then I kept on adjusting this until it just focused on a large area of the skin. Now, if I really think about it, it's not perfect in the sense of that little area, and I guess it's not in the little area of my forehead because I guess where the highlights are. Anyways, let's focus. So it's just focused on that area, okay? So now when I do any adjustments, so as you can see, I've basically pushed the skin more into the red area because it would have been basically just there before in the center. Then it just makes it a bit more warmer. If you go over there, it makes it a bit more yellow. So now you can see more extreme that this kind of thing doesn't work. This makes it a bit cooler. If I go over here, see, it doesn't work. So that's what I mean. I think just pushing it into the reds, it just, because it's so similar to the skin tone, and this doesn't matter if it's on lighter skin or darker skin, just pushing it into that red area. Obviously, you don't want to overdo it like that, looking like, I don't know, like the phoenix has just got blazed up by the sun. Like, you can just make the skin just feel a bit more healthier and richer. So I always do that, and it's a preset that I just whack on everything that I do with my camera that hasn't got like a custom white balance, or where I just want the skin to look natural. And as you can see, color temperature wise, I've adjusted that as well. So although yes, I've adjusted it into the warmer tones, temperature wise, for whatever reason, I just made it a little bit more cooler. And that's what I mean. It's just subtle adjustments. You know, if I make it super cooler, which to be honest, I do like that look as well, then it makes it a little bit more moodier. But anyways, we could go into all of that. But essentially, all I did was color pick the skin in HSL, which is basically selective for one area. And then I made the correction a bit warmer. And I don't often put it on that, but as you can see, I basically focused on the mid-tones only. I haven't messed around with the shadows or the highlights. So yeah, you can mess around with it, but I usually keep it on this. But yeah, as you can see, it's similar to the color match in that sense. And then yeah, just put the temperature down, and I just left it as that. So that's what the skin tone is doing. And I think in most cases, if you want your video to look like, I don't know, a documentary format or everyday kind of video work, I think a bit of shooting the white balance, correcting camera, as we did, to make it pop, when you put like a bit basic correction on, and then literally putting a bit more warmth in the skin, I think most of the time, job's done. You don't need to do anything else. But because this is a music video and I wanted it to have a bit of a mood, I wanted it to have my kind of aesthetic for what I like when I like check out the photos and the videos that I get from my camera. I put this look. Now the thing is with this look that I've just applied, which says Canon RP look 2023. When I look at some shots, I must admit, I think the skin could have been tweaked a little more, but there is a kind of nostalgic look to it that I like. And essentially, once again, what is going on here, if we look at all the settings, is this time color match, which I've talked about in my last video, where in the shadows, I just tint it down to the greens. In the midtones, a bit more up there. As you can see, highlights I don't mess around with. So the main thing, I guess, that's kind of pulling through is that there's more green in the shadow area. But I just think it just gives it a look. Now, if I did this music video again, I'll probably maybe tone down how it puts even more brightness into the skin. But at the same time, I do like how it just adds a bit of retroness. If this feels modern, there is something about what it's doing to the midtones that in the skin that gives it a retroness that I don't mind. And then what's next? Green fix. So basically, through all the correction and stuff like that, it seemed like that luminescent green was a bit of a problem for my camera. So I had to do like a custom setting where I could actually bring out the green, because you can see it's a bit washed out. And at the same time, I made the HSL secondary, you can just go to it, wide enough in the in the hue, in the H, as you can see. I made it wide enough that it starts messing around with the green on my jacket, and I love how it pops it out of the scene. You know, it felt quite flat before, and yeah, it only felt like you could see correction to the basically our faces, but then it just pops out of the scene, so it's not too flat. So I like that. Let me just show you it popping. So as you can see, it looks very subtle, but once again, I did a HSL just to make the white actually pop. So you can see my teeth pop a bit more, Judith's top, the background actually looks white rather than a subtle grey. So yeah, these are all the adjustments that I did in the end before I put this video into After Effects to put the lyrics in certain places. These are all the adjustments on how I did the grade in the video. I hope especially the HSL secondary really helped you, because a lot of us can talk about color grading, but I think that is the secret sauce, because if the skin doesn't look right, then a lot of grades fall flat. Like, it's the first thing you look at, right? People's eyes, skin. If the skin doesn't look right, if it looks too green, it looks too light, people look too ill, you're like, I don't care how creative this video looks, that person doesn't look healthy. So once you know how to fix the skin, I think you could do whatever you want with the color grade. You know, it doesn't matter if it's a beauty video, if it's a creative video. Once you know how to make the skin look right, it's game over. So yeah, use the HSL, dial in on that skin, and make it pop. Or use it in more creative ways, like that Dave and what's his name, Jack Harlow video. Anyways, I'm out. I don't want to ramble anymore. So yeah, over and out. Peace.